Once upon a time, there was a thriving kingdom ruled by a wise and kind-hearted king. This king was unlike others in many ways. He had only one leg and one eye, but these physical challenges never defined him. Instead, his intelligence, compassion, and fairness earned him the unwavering love of his people. Under his rule, the kingdom flourished and its citizens lived happy and prosperous lives. One day, as the king strolled through the grand hallways of his palace, he paused to admire the portraits of his ancestors. These paintings told the stories of those who had come before him, their legacies preserved on the walls for future generations to see. The king reflected on how his children and grandchildren would one day walk these halls and look upon their heritage. But as he stood there, a thought troubled him. His portrait was missing from the collection. He had never commissioned one, fearing how his disabilities might be portrayed. He wondered, how will history remember me? Will they see the leader I was, or only the flaws I carry? Determined to ensure his legacy was represented, the king issued a royal decree. He invited the most talented painters from across his kingdom and neighboring lands to come to the court. Standing before them, he announced, "I wish to have a portrait of myself to adorn this hall. It must capture who I truly am and the strength I represent. The artist whose work pleases me will be richly rewarded." The gathered painters exchanged uneasy glances. While the reward was tempting, the challenge seemed insurmountable. They whispered among themselves, doubting they could create a painting that both honored the king and concealed his physical imperfections. Fearing the king's displeasure or punishment if they failed one by one, they declined the task, making polite excuses. Just as hope seemed lost, a young painter stepped forward. With confidence in his voice, he declared, "Your Majesty, I will paint a portrait that will capture your greatness and bring pride to this hall." The king's face lit up with hope, and the court murmured in curiosity. Could this young artist succeed where the others had faltered? The king granted him the opportunity, and the painter immediately set to work. For days, the painter toiled in solitude. He carefully studied the king's features, his posture, and his essence. His goal was not to ignore the king's physical differences, but to present them in a way that celebrated the man behind them. Finally, the day came for the grand unveiling. The entire court gathered, eager and anxious to see the result. When the painting was revealed, the room fell silent. Gasps of astonishment echoed through the hall as everyone took in the masterpiece. The portrait depicted the king seated atop a powerful horse, his one leg bent naturally over the saddle. He held a bow in his hands, aiming an arrow with precision. His closed eye, instead of a limitation, added focus and intensity to his expression. The scene radiated strength, courage, and leadership. The king was portrayed not as someone defined by his disabilities, but as a heroic and regal figure. The king was overjoyed. His eyes sparkled with gratitude as he said, "This is beyond what I could have imagined. You have not only captured my likeness, but also the essence of who I am. This portrait will stand here for generations as a symbol of strength and perseverance." The young painter was rewarded generously, and his work became a cherished treasure of the kingdom. More than a beautiful piece of art, the painting carried a profound message: to see the best in others, to focus on their strengths, and to rise above superficial judgments. The story of the king and his portrait spread far and wide. It inspired countless people to view challenges as opportunities and to approach life with positivity and creativity. Moral of the story: we should always strive to see the good in others and focus on their strengths rather than their weaknesses. Everyone has unique qualities that make them special. By adopting a positive outlook, even in difficult situations, we can discover solutions that uplift and inspire. Who do you know that always sees the best in people? Tag them to share this story and let them know they inspire you.